Hello there and welcome to a very, very special crossover episode with oddschecker and TalkSPORT BET. Today, we're going to be covering all things Royal Ascot. Day one we're going into, so whether you're looking for a second opinion, whether you're looking for some expertise, make yourself a cup of tea, strap yourself in, and we're going to go for it. We're going to get through it all. And when I say expertise, I'm of course not referring to myself. I'm referring to the panellists here on the table. Okay, I've got Steve Ryder and I've got Andy Holding. Lads, how are you?
We're good.
Thank you.
Yeah, we're buzzing for it. Absolutely buzzing for it. Yeah, it comes around very quickly. It's, as Steve said to me earlier, it's on you very quick.
Yeah.
You know, it's not like Cheltenham where it's the narrative all the way through from September into March and the markets form. With the flat racing, you know, you get through April and May, and you're into Royal Ascot.
It jumps out at you.
Jumps at you very quickly. So you need to be switched on. You need to be on top of your form. You need to know the 2-year-old form, the handicaps. Otherwise, you know, the meter can leave you by.
Yeah.
So hopefully we're prepared.
Steve, how are you feeling about it?
Yeah, good. Yeah, it's one of my favourite meetings of the whole year. I love the flat season because you just get peaks all the way through where the jumps is very much focused on Cheltenham Festival, whereas Ascot is relatively soon into the season.
Yeah, of course. Well, I'm going to say it's worth flagging right now. There's a welcome offer with TalkSPORT Bet. Okay, so if you bet 10 on horse racing, you get £50 worth of bonuses. Now, of course, I've got to say T's and C's apply, but we're talking £30 worth of horse racing bets and £20 worth of slots as well. So worth checking out. Get on it, and of course, there'll be super boosts as well. There's loads of tips going to be flying around. So I'm going to say let's get into it, lads. I'm going to say let's get into it. So it's day one, Queen Anne Stakes. Now, can Resilient reverse Lockinge form with Lee's Artist and Dancing Gemini? That's the question I'll go into. What do you think?
I think that's a concerted opinion of most. You know, there's vibes going into the race at Newbury suggesting that Rousson might not necessarily be at his absolute best, and maybe that was a prep run. It's hard to think you use a Group 1 as a prep run, isn't it? You'd think, well, you know, that's worth winning in its own right. But I think that was very much the case, and the way he was ridden and the way he kind of hit a bit of a flat spot in the race and then stayed on quite nicely late on suggests that you might see him in a better light at Ascot. But that's factored into the price.
Yeah.
You know, he's still got to turn around the form with Dancing Gemini. He's got to go and do it. And you're having to take a short price to find out, whereas Dancing Gemini beating fair and square on the day is a much bigger price.
Okay.
And I think the overall body of work of Dancing Gemini in particular this season is of a very high standard. He's run some really high-class speed figures, and he just keeps improving. His data at Newbury suggests that he was the quickest from 3 out to the line as well. Of all those 4 horses in the race, including the winner, Lead Artist, Notable Speech, and Roussillon. He's got good straight track form. The ground's going to be in his favour. So I'd fancy Dancing Gemini to come out on top of those 4 that ran in the Lockinge. But I'd also throw Sardinian Warrior into the mix as well. Hey,
okay.
He's got course and distance form at Ascot, having won the Pavilion Stakes. A race traditionally which throws up horses that run well over the same course and distance in the Queen Anne. He went on to get beat by a top-class French horse called Swazi next time out, which was over a mile 1. He didn't quite see the final furlong out as well as he had done the mile, so dropping back to a mile should suit. And I think he'll be there or thereabouts. So my main 2 would be Dancing Gemini out of the Lockinge, the 2 best trials, and the other one is the Pavilion Stakes and Sardinian Warrior. I think he's a good each-way bet as we speak, around about 7 to 1.
Oh, there we go, a little bit of nugget of gold there. Jot that down if you're watching. Are you of the same line of thinking there, Steve?
Yeah, I am. I'm sure Andy and I aren't going to agree on everything through these previews, but yeah, I'd be in the same thing as this. Dancing Gemini has a very similar profile to Charon of last year. Started off the year at Doncaster winning, then went to Sandown and won, finished second in the Lockinge, and then came and won this. Right. Dancing Gemini has had exactly the same season. He's rock solid, around 4 to 1 in the market with TalkSPORT Bet. And Sardinian Warrior, I think, is the obvious each-way play. Like Andy said, had that good course and distance form, beat Docklands, who loves Ascot. Anyone that beats Docklands at Ascot has got to be a really good horse. Furthered that form, finishing second to Sosi last time in the Prix d'Ispahan over in France. That rival is favourite for the Arc later on in the season. And yeah, I'd be back in Dancing Gemini at 4 to 1, win only. And also back in Sardinian Warrior each way at 7 to 1.
Wow, there you go. You actually are on the same page with that one. I hope that's not the case.
It's a rarity, yes.
Yeah.
Is it a rarity,
Yeah.
is it? Oh, that's good. That's encouraging.
Oh no, we found the Derby winner notes, didn't we?
We did.
Independently. We didn't compare notes.
Yeah, oh right,
Yeah,
okay.
no.
Just through that Jedi mind, just, yeah,
Yes.
okay, I'm with you. Well, let's hope there's a clash of opinion here. Let's see. I want to see, I want it to get juicy. As we move on to the Coventry Stakes, I mean, Aidan O'Brien won this 3 times in the last 10 years, with the Fab, it has to be said. But does Charles Darwin set the standard? That's the question I'm going to go into here, Steve.
If he runs in it, Hayden O'Brien has lots and lots of options to be able to run in the Coventry. I found this a really tricky race, to be honest. I thought Charles Darwin was probably more likely to run in the Norfolk. You've then got Gstaad, you've got Walsall, you've got Brussels, you've got Flushing Meadows, who all won on their debuts. So whatever Hayden O'Brien runs and Ryan Moore rides will likely go off a relatively short price. There was a couple jockey booking wise that kind of took my interest in this. American Golf for the Coles, I thought was quite interesting, 14-1 with TalkSPORT Bet. Oisin Murphy would have had a few options of who he would have been able to ride in this. He's ridden for multiple horses for multiple stables who are all running in this race. So the fact that he's stuck with American Golf in this for the Coles, won by 3 1/4 lengths at Windsor on his debut. And it just slightly took my eye the fact that Holly Doyle has chosen to ride Shatir. Archie Watson juveniles at Royal Ascot are well worth giving a second look to, even at massive prices. She's also ridden the stablemate in this, Tadej, who I thought had slightly stronger form. So the fact that she's then decided to ride Shatir was quite big for me. He's currently at 25-1 for this race. Was drawn on the wrong side at Chepstow when making its first start. I think finished 3rd or 4th that day, but then won really well next time. So a couple of bigger prices away from the Aidan O'Brien trained ones would be American Golf and Shatir for me.
I like what you've done there. Andy, same line of thinking. What do you think?
Yeah, I think Charles Darwin is the sort of key element to the two races we've just mentioned there, the Coventry Stakes over 6 furlongs and the Norfolk as well. He's going to be entered in both, and I think they'll wait up close to the time, depending on conditions, etc., etc. He might even gallop them over the weekend, or as we're speaking, roughly around about now, to see how they're coming through their final paces, and then a final decision will be made. He likes to leave as late as possible, of course, we know with Aidan. My gut feeling is he will run Charles Darwin in the 5 furlong race, because he dropped him back in trip last time out when he won at Naas. And he looks a 5 furlong sprint as well. He's big, he's strong, very powerful through the shoulder. He should be suited by Ascot. His data's been very good so far this season. He's got a very long stride that suggests he'll be suited to Ascot. So I think he'll probably be favourite for the Norfolk if he goes there. But that would leave the race very much wide open if he's out of the Coventry, currently favourite at the moment. You're sort of looking at around about 6 or 7-1 the field,
right?
If he's out. Aidan's got 2 really nice colts that have had one run and won, both at the Curragh, which is a natural stepping stone for a lot of Aidan's horses. When he brings them onto Ascot, he tends to run his best ones there. He won with a horse called Brussels a few weeks ago, who lowered the colours of a good field. And it was the same race that a horse called Arizona won when he won the Coventry 3 years ago.
Right.
And he hit the line really strong without complicating it too much. He basically was quicker from 3 furlongs out to the line than a Group 3 older sprinter called James Delight, to the tune of around about 5 lengths. So from 5 lengths he would have beaten an older horse by that amount of distance. So he's obviously a very, very good horse for a 2-year-old. And Ryan Moore rode him that day. So there's a good chance, having sat on him and got a feel for him, that he might lean towards him. But he also rode a horse called Flushing Meadows, who similarly won over the same course and distance and did a good time only just a week ago. And that might be a little bit of a short period of time to go to Royal Ascot, but he has entered in for the Coventry to suggest that that's not totally blown out of the water. So I think if Charles Darwin goes to the race, we think, and he's got a choice between Brussels and Flushing Meadows, I'd like to be on either one of those 2.
Okay.
So can't say for sure which one it's going to be, but hopefully it might be Brussels, because I think he could be the better one of the 2.
Okay, yeah, no, good stuff. And I'll move us on to the King Charles III Stakes. And it's a simple one, really, this, Steve. Asphora, 2nd year running. What do you think? Chance?
She would have a chance. I'll be relatively negative on her, if I'm being honest.
Ooh.
Last year she ran in the Temple Stakes, finished 4th before running here. So basically she's trained in Australia, has to come across. So they brought her over in plenty of time last year, acclimatised to the UK, ran, had a prep run, and then came here. This time, hasn't managed to come over as soon, hasn't had that prep race, and they are fitting her with blinkers. Now, I would put that as a slight negative. I'm not sure what your thoughts are, Andy. The fact that they're reaching that, coming over, same race, it's slightly concerning for me that they're reaching towards headgear. Maybe she's not quite showing the same speed as what she did previously. I'd be one a massive price here, called Rumstar for Johnny Portman. Really progressive horse. You need to forgive him his last run at Haydock, but I'd willing to forgive him that. He ran poorly in the Sprint Cup at that track on his only ever try. 2 years ago. But he does have really good Ascot form. He was sent off 80-1 for the Commonwealth Cup at this meeting a couple of years ago. 5th, beaten only a couple of lengths. He won the Rouse Stakes, a listed race, on his final start here last season. So 5 furlongs at Ascot really, really suits. Returned with a good win in the Palace House Stakes at Newmarket. Beat She's Quality and Washington Heights. They finished 2nd and 3rd behind Magira, who's about 10-1 for this race. Rumstar, because of that poor run at Haydock, is around 33-1 for this race. That Temple Stakes that he ran in at Haydock has been a really good pointer towards this race. If you look at it, Asfura finished 4th in it last year before winning it. That made her the 5th runner from the Temple Stakes to win this race since 2010. So the fact that he ran in it, ran poorly, you're getting a massive price, around 33-1. So Rumstar would be a confident selection for me in the King Charles.
Wow, I like that. I really like that. As for a slight negative, there's a pros and cons anyway, Steve's saying. Are you singing off the same hymn sheet here?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, she was good last year. She won against the track bias. She was drawn towards the stand side rail, and the pace was very much over on the far side. So both Asfura, the winner, and Regional had to quicken up to join those on the far side and actually to get by them. So I think you can upgrade their performances. But since then, Asfura probably hasn't been quite the same filly that she was coming into the race this time last year. She ran a bend last time out over in Australia. She didn't look quite so good, hence the fact that they've gone for something perhaps just to give a little bit more of a spark, i.e. the headgear. Might just sort of focus her mind a little bit more. So there's got to be a little bit of a concern there. So with her kind of like not knowing what kind of level she's at the moment, I'd probably go with Regional, who was 2nd in the race last year, to the aforementioned Asfura. But his preparation has been much more smooth. He goes really well fresh. He was 2nd in the race called the Alquoz, which is over in Maidan, out in the desert, to Believing, who's the favourite for this race. But he beat her fair and square last year, and I think there's a good chance that he'll do the same again. Just a top-class horse, reliable as anything, and he's a nice each-way price, around about 8-1 at the moment, which seems fair value for me. The one thing we don't know is the draw, which is going to be important on the day. There's going to be sort of 14, 15 runners. Obviously, this is subject to flux. If your horse is drawn 1 or 15, you're out on the flank, then obviously that makes a little bit of a difference to where your mind might be thinking. You want to be drawn perhaps more in the centre, but providing the aforementioned horses we've gone for get decent draws on the day, then hopefully we won't be far away.
Oh, okay, so some cons to Asfura coming into this one, which look, I can't overlook what they're saying. Last race out of the main races we'll be covering here is the St James's Palace Stakes. Now, the top 2 from the 2,000 guineas are in this one, but has Field of Golds, of course, Field of Golds, everyone's talking about Field of Golds, has the Irish Guineas performance led you to believe that the form could be reversed with ruling court? What do you think?
I think so, yeah. I mean, he was a bit unlucky, as everyone knows. In the Newmarket has been well documented. Obviously, they've had a change of jockey. Some would say controversially, but to be fair to Colin Keane, on the big day when kind of like the spotlight was on him, he came up with the goods with a fantastic ride, an uncomplicated ride at the Curragh, kept him wide, knew he was on the best horse, produced him at the right moment, and that's what you get with Colin Keane. Just a very sort of ice cold, razor sharp focused jockey that's probably been underestimated for a long, long time, and I think he'll relish his sort of like stage in the spotlight, and I think he'll try and ride Field of Gold similar to how he did at Newmarket at the Curragh. Just drop him out, relax him, get him to switch off, and then coming off the home bend, there's a long 3 furlong straight there, all uphill. Bring him on the outside and let him sort of change gear and use his turn of foot. That's not to say that Ruling Court won't be ridden in the same fashion, but you'd like to think, based on what happened at Newmarket, that he'll get his revenge. He has been priced up accordingly. You're going to have to pay a premium to find out if that's going to be the case. I think he's just a shade of odds on. Not my kind of bet. I like to sort of go for something a little bit more on a value perspective. So I'll probably be sitting the race out from a punting point of view, but I'd expect Field of Gold to turn the form around with Rolling Court.
Well, you know what, I'll piggyback just before I throw it over to you on what you've said there. There'll be super boosts littered throughout the week during Royal Ascot, and TalkSPORT Bet have Field of Gold super boosted, so look out for that on the day, maybe the day before as well. So that'll be a good price, I can assure you, based on what you've said. So I will throw over to you, Steve. What do you think then? Same line of thinking again? Is that the whole day you two are on the same page?
I'm looking forward to seeing what price the Super Boost is.
Yes,
to be honest.
I know. Yeah,
Field of Gold is currently 4 to 5 at the time of recording with TalkSPOrt Bet. So yeah, if you can get around even money, I'd probably be in his camp at that price. He's just the best horse in this race here. Was unlucky in the 2,000 guineas at Newmarket. I was slightly worried about how well he'd settle in the Irish 2,000 guineas. He was kind of drawn out wide, and Colin Keane rode him with such confidence, didn't bother getting any cover, just rode him as like the best horse in the race, and I'm hoping that he's going to do exactly the same in this. The only concern I'd have is if he was drawn stall 1 at Ascot. The St James's Palace Stakes is on the round course, and there'll be a good 7, 8, 9 in this race, and if he's trapped up the inside, I'd slightly worry around if he'd be able to get out in time, but I think Colin Keane will just ride him with plenty of confidence. There's pacemakers in here. You'll have Windlord in there as well for Juddmonte, who would make this a strong pace, and I imagine Colin Keane will track William Buick on Ruling Court, and this time will actually go past.
Steve, away from the races that we've covered, is there anything else that you're looking at on day one?
Yeah, there's just a couple. One at a shorter price in the Copper Horse handicap is French Master, currently 4-1 favourite with TalkSPORT Bet, but I do think he has strong claims here. Recently purchased by Wathnan Racing. His run on his penultimate start at Newmarket was really good. He finished second behind a horse called El Cordobes. He ran well at Newbury on his next start in a group race. I think the 3rd, 4th and 5th all won from there. French Master then went to Goodwood, stepped up in trip to a mile and 6, won. Rab Havlin, who rode him that day, got in all sorts of trouble, but as a result, I think he won by a neck at the finish. Ooh. The handicapper has only raised him £4 and is definitely still well handicapped off that mark. And then one at a wild price in the Ascot Stakes, 20-1, I like Dawn Rising. So this horse is just targeted at Royal Ascot every year. If you look back, he won the Queen Alexandra Stakes in 2023 under Ryan Moore when sent off 2-1 favourite. It's a conditions race, but he's rated 102 at the time. Just bear that in mind. Last year, same race, sent off 3-1 favourite, finished 3rd to his stablemate Uxmal, was rated 105 at that point. Since then, he's finished 5th, beaten 6 lengths by the Euphrates in the Irish Cesarewitch, 6th in the Cesarewitch at Newmarket off a mark of 103, and won a Group 3 at the Curragh. Now, he's been well beaten in his 2 runs this year, but has now dropped down to a magic number of 100. This race is a 0-100 handicap, where the Queen Alexandra is a conditions race. So he's dropped enough in the handicap to get in it off top weight. Joseph O'Brien is 100% trained in for this race. He's in the colours of JP McManus. I expect those 20-1 odds to absolutely plummet when people see that he's managed to get into this race rather than the Queen Alexandra Stakes. So hopefully he can win again like he did in 2023.
Oh, I really like that, by the way. You've sold that to me.
Sold it, yeah.
Yeah, you've sold that to me. Nice. That time of the episode, I'm going to ask you both for your naps of the day. Let's throw over to you, Steve. What's your nap of the day?
So if I have to back one in this, it would be Rumstar and the King Charles at 33-1. I think he's wildly overpriced. I think if he hadn't ran at Haydock, he would be at least half that price. And I thought there were definite excuses for him to underperform that day. The Temple Stakes has obviously been a great springboard into this race. So 33-1 is madness, in my opinion.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. What about yourself, Andy?
Yeah, I can't quite match the 33-1. I can only find half of those odds on a horse called Sons and Lovers, who runs in the Wolferton Stakes. I think it's towards the back end of the card. It sounds like a period drama, doesn't it, from the BBC back in yesteryear. But joking aside, no, he's a quality horse, Sons and Lovers. I think he's very much gone under the radar. He was 4th in a very good race at the Curragh last time out, which is very good on the time figures, won by Los Angeles, who's favourite to win the Princess of Wales later on in the week. And the race has worked out well. The winner's obviously gone in again since. The 3rd horse, Trust Your Instincts, won. And he was close up right on their coattails. Just based on that run alone, he'd have a chance. But then you look back at his run last year at Royal Ascot when he was trained by Jane Chapel-Hine last season. He finished 6th in the Hampton Court behind JLB, a genuine Group 1 horse. He's subsequently switched to Joseph O'Brien. He's subsequently been gelded. And there seemed to be a little bit of improvement based on the numbers that he showed last time at the Curragh. For switching and for the operation. So I'll be quite hopeful of him running perhaps better than his odds suggest currently anyway, let's say. So Sons and Lovers, a sporting each-way pick in the Wolferton Stakes on day one.
I like it. So we've got 33-1 and a beautiful name, if nothing else. We've got
if nothing else.
That's amazing. Look, what I will say to you is, of course, the naps will be linked in the description of this video. I can assure you that. So go and check those out. And with that being said, that is day one of Royal Ascot with oddschecker and TalkSPORT Bet done. Stay tuned for episode 2. It's coming up shortly.